Traders, how are you? With Marcello. Today we're doing the recap of what happened in the markets last week. This week we have superchargers in Chicago not working because of the deep freeze in the United States. We have a previous civilizations that's rewriting history in Brazil, putting people back there more than 9,000 years ago. And we have a little bit of opposite of global warming in the United States. Let's go ahead and get started. Two of the exchanges in the U.S. reached record highs. The Dow hit a record high, and the S&P 500 hit the first time record high in the last 2 years. All of the exchanges in the U.S., in addition to Canada, were positive, and we have some pretty good economic news, at least according to what the Fed, or the central bank in the United States, looks at, which means that we might not see the lowering of the interest rates as fast as we want to see it. Remember, in the United States, which is still the biggest economy in the world, it is almost 70% consumer spending. So consumer spending, since we all live on debt pretty much nowadays, is basically the driver of how much people spend. Obviously, we had that huge inflation situation since the pandemic, but if the interest rates are high, it's a lot more expensive to buy a house, buy a car, to buy absolutely everything with your credit card. So as interest rates come down, or if they're super low, since they've been, for example, since 2008 and 2009 until recently, we get a boom, economic boom, because people can buy a lot more things. The global weather, I'm going to say global weather from now on, instead of global warming, so I don't get tagged and banned. And conspiracy theory news, North America snow coverage hits decadal highs, meaning that it's at a high from recent decades. It was at a recent low in the last few weeks, but now it's just at record highs. Not record highs, but highs from the previous decades. Now, well, I'm going to get into this in just a second. At least 5 dead are from hypothermia in the recent continental freeze. There's even notices from the governments in Florida that you're probably going to see iguanas just fall off a tree because of the deep cold. Remember that iguanas, kind of like alligators, are cold-blooded, so they can't get warm when it's cold outside, right? They need the sun and things like that. That's why you don't find iguanas, for example, in New York or Toronto. Annual global freezing deaths as well are still 9 times more common than global warming deaths. What did I say? I was going to call it global warming, global earthing. Well, I'll remember in a second. Chicago, there were people with Teslas lined up at superchargers trying to charge their cars, but they were dead on arrival, and the superchargers were also dead on arrival. And remember, if we had that story as well, in addition to the Teslas freezing, I do believe those are the older models. I think the newer model, they have a little bit of a warming engine inside, or a warming motor to keep that from happening. But remember that Minnesota, which is in the United States, a city, in addition to some cities in Sweden, had to cancel the bus routes due to the fact that the buses wouldn't work because of the freezing temperatures. Klaus Schwab, which is the unelected Nazi communist leader of the World Economic Forum, says that soon elections are going to be a quaint relic of the past. So you're gonna have artificial intelligence telling how much meat you can eat, and you can't fly because that's too much carbon. And one of the things I think is funny is the China's coal production, which is supposedly all the stuff that's bad for the environment, hit a record high in 2023. So, this is what I always tell you guys. The reason why I like to do these videos, because I always want you guys to connect the dots, and I always tell you to remember what people do, not what they say. Pay attention to how they act. So how is it that China gets a record high in coal production when supposedly coal is bad for the environment? How come China and India, between the two of them, are opening up one coal energy plant a week, but we in the United States and the West and Canada and Europe, we have to stop using coal. We have to use wind turbines that freeze in the cold, so you can't have warm weather in your house when it freezes. So if it really was about the environment, in my opinion, why are India and China doing this, opening coal power plants and reaching record coal production? Could it actually be that maybe all this climate alarmism isn't really as real as they're saying it is? Because if it was real, then India and China wouldn't be doing it either because they would be destroying the environment, no? See how that works? Overseas market news, European markets mostly... Now, I'm just going to interrupt that to just say one thing. I do believe we should take care of the environment, right? By no means should we be destroying it, but you see what I mean? European markets news are mostly lower. Spain was the biggest loser there. Latin America was mixed. The Argentinian Merval went up almost 14%. Africa and the Middle East was mixed as well, with Nigeria, which is the biggest economy in Africa, hitting almost 14% positive for the week. And then Asia and the far, far east, the Nikkei in Japan, the biggest winner there, over 10% positive. Bitcoin and crypto looks like the honeymoon phase of the Bitcoin ETF approval is over. The momentum has died down quite a bit. Bitcoin is lower for the week. It's down 3.52%, 41,652 as of Saturday morning. And the Bitcoin BTF has now become the second largest ETF commodity in the United States after surpassing silver. So it's now the second biggest. Commodities, Qatar is suspending its LNG or liquefied natural gas shipments via the Red Sea. Six more oil tankers as well have been rerouted due to the attacks from the Houthis. The US and the UK did some attacks on the Houthis that are attacking the tankers. And one other thing that was really ironic is there was a reporter that asked Biden a question, if you can really take his answer seriously at this point. And Biden said that they are doing the attacks, they're not working, but they're going to continue to do them. And that's how our military machine works in a nutshell. We just, try to go to war, spend more money, even though it doesn't work. The crude in the United States went up 1% to 73.41, while Brent, which is the international crude, went up 0.34% to 78.56. And cacao prices, or cocoa, I don't know exactly how you say it, but it's essentially the fruit that they make chocolate out of, reaches highest in 46 years due to the bad rains in Western Africa, in addition to the deadly fungus the disease that's attacking the plants. Gold is down 0.96% on the strength of the dollar and went to $2,030 with 20 cents, and silver is down 2.64% to $22.69. If there was ever a good time to buy gold and silver, this is not trading advice or investment advice, just educational purposes only, but now would be the time. Financial and banking news, UK inflation unexpectedly increased 4% year over year in December, mostly due to alcohol and tobacco prices. And the U.S. Congress passed a stopgap bill, which is going to avert a partial shutdown. It's going to keep the government funded from March 1st to March 8th. And the Japan inflation rate went to 2.6% in December, which is the lowest level since June of 2022. Political news, Trump, surprisingly, won the Republican Iowa caucuses on Monday, having 51%. First contest of the election in 2024 for the Republicans, won by the largest margin ever. DeSantis, which is the Florida governor, won by 21.2%. He's in second place. And then Nikki Haley came in third at 19.1%. Economic news, Germany, the economy contracted in 2023 by 0.3%. The inflation, the high energy prices, and weak demand for their exports are affecting the economy quite a bit. The Germany, being the fourth largest economy in the world, is very export reliant, just like China, because they manufacture things, right? They always say that German engineering is the best. So it looks like their economy isn't doing well. It's probably going to take the economy of Europe down with it due to the fact that Germany is such a big portion of the economy there. U.S. retail sales in December were stronger than expected. Remember that retail is consumer spending. And if you remember what I said in the beginning of the video, the largest percentage of the economy in the United States by far is consumer spending, which is about almost 70%. So it indicates a resilient consumer, putting the interest rate cuts 2024 further into doubt. As I mentioned, if the consumers are spending money like no tomorrow, or they have strong numbers, that means the economy is still resilient, is still doing well. So if it's still doing well, there's no need to really drop rates, which is not a good thing. If you're into real estate, though, there are new requirements that are coming into place where you can buy up to a fourplex with only 5% down instead of before it was 20-25%. The economic activity the past 7 weeks largely stagnant, according to the central bank of the United States, although housing and prices are rising at a modest to moderate pace. So the economy is mostly stagnant while prices are continuing to increase. And initial jobless claims fell sharply last week in a surprise move, went down by 16,000. So putting it all together, the consumer, which is 70% of the economy, is doing really well. Now the unemployment claims, meaning that people are going out and asking for unemployment benefits, is going down by a lot. That means that the economy seems to be doing well, according at least to the numbers that the central bank and the U.S. look at. The U.S. home sales fell in December to its lowest level in nearly 13 and a half years. Existing home sales fell by 1% month over month, and the home resale market dropped 18.7%, which is the lowest level since 1995. Now, the housing and the construction market is about 17% or so of the economy. So you can see that that market isn't doing well either, mostly due to the interest rates. And surveys and consumers in the United States released on Friday indicate a growing, increasing confidence about the economy and falling inflation. The surveys show a reading for 78.8, which is the highest since July 2021. So it seems like there's a lot of optimism about what direction the economy is going in. Corporate news, Apple is offering a very rare discount for iPhone 15s in China amid the fears about the demand. So even Apple started to get notice about what's happening with the economy. And Sports Illustrated is letting go of its entire staff. They sent out an email on Friday. They're laying everybody off. I don't know the details of the email, but probably they're using AI to generate all their articles and even, design the swimsuit model. I don't know if you guys saw there was an AI generated model that's making hundreds of $1,000s a month now on Instagram. So Tesla shares fell almost 2% after they slashed the prices of the Model Y across Europe. Not long ago, remember that they dropped the prices also in China. One thing that was amazing, though, is the Tesla Model Y is the first fully electric vehicle, which is a bestseller in Europe. So the Tesla Model Y was the best-selling vehicle in Europe in 2023. Ford is reducing its F-150 Lightning production to boost gas vehicle output. And Boeing, more bad news. There was a plane that jetted off from Miami that caught on fire that had to come back and land in Miami. So it looks like the news for Boeing is going to get even worse. And Microsoft now has surpassed Apple to become the largest company by market cap in the world. This has to do with their heavy investment in AI. In addition, for example, NVIDIA and Amazon have invested quite a bit in that as well. And Spirit Airlines went down by almost 48% on Tuesday, another almost 23% on Wednesday, a day after the U.S. judge said that they're going to block the merger between them and JetBlue due to the fact that it's not going to be helpful for the consumer. Maybe they should make the seats bigger. How that? Give us some room in those planes. Trade news. I mentioned about the disruption in the Red Sea. Now China is starting to show a little bit of susceptibility in regards to the exports as well, due to the fact that they're heavily reliant on exports. So now you can see that even the second largest economy in the world is starting to be affected with the situation, for example, in Israel, because that's why the Houthis are attacking the tankers. And in technology, scientists in China announced they cloned a first healthy rhesus monkey, a 2-year-old named Retro. They tweaked the process that created Dolly the sheep. And in international events, the skirmishes between the Philippines and China in the South China Sea is starting to become a little bit more serious. The chief, Romeo Bronner, chief military person in the Philippines, said that they're going to develop some of the islands that are in their territory and in the sea to put more troops and military there. And just because it's called the South China Sea doesn't mean it is China's, because China, there's certain boundaries that are made from the coastline. I think it's 100, it's not yards, 100 miles or 200 miles, something like that, where it's international, it's your property, essentially, that certain amount of distance from the coast, and then it becomes international waters. So that looks like it's going to get skirmishes. And Pakistan did retaliatory strikes against Iran, stating that they used killer drones and rockets due to the fact that Iran striked their territory as well. Just like the Bible said, wars and rumors of wars. And interesting facts this week: workers beginning construction on a new apartment complex in northeast Brazil. The name of the town is called São Luís. found thousands of artifacts in addition to human bones, and they dated it to 9,000 years ago, which can completely rewrite the human settlement, the history of human settlement in Brazil. If you haven't seen the series from Graham Hancock on Netflix called Ancient Apocalypse, I think it's called, definitely watch it. And remember, last week they found in Ecuador, the Amazon jungle of Ecuador, literally an entire city with roads and buildings and everything. And that could put us back another, 10, 20,000 years. That's news from this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. And remember, the preppers were right.